7:14, Tara Jean and Riaz both here for you today as we share the emotional stories and ongoing developments from the tragic junior hockey bus crash in Saskatchewan. What you're seeing now are people entering the local arena for last night's vigil, the home of the Humboldt Broncos. Joining us this morning live from Saskatchewan, Riaz, we have our City News correspondent, Tammie Sutherland. Bear with us. There is a small little delay, but she has some powerful details to share with us. And Tammie, can we start with the very latest developments that we learned just over the last hour?
Yeah, that's right. Over the last hour, we have learned directly from the Chief Coroner's Office and from the Justice Department here in Saskatchewan that there has been a mistake in identifying one of the bodies. Now, there was a body that initially was identified as player Xavier LaBelle. The Coroner's Office now confirming that that is indeed the body of Parker Tobin, the Broncos goalie. So that is just an unfortunate update, again, for that family who is having now to deal with a death. His mother, actually, Tobin's mother, did tweet on Friday and on Saturday as well, saying that as far as she knew, her son was in stable condition, being airlifted to this hospital here in Saskatoon. So a very traumatic update again. But once again, the coroner's office saying that Xavier LaBelle is still alive. He is injured, but still alive and recovering here in hospital.
The heartbreaking developments continue with this story, Tammie, and you had the opportunity to be there for the vigil last night, and following along on your Twitter feed, I can only imagine what this was like, one as a reporter, but two, just as a human being, to be in that emotional atmosphere. And when you know you have the Prime Minister there for support, we talked about Don Cherry, Ron MacLean there, that is great. But when you look at the families, when you look at the victims, what moments had the most profound impact on you, on this experience, and how Humboldt is healing this morning?
I would definitely say that would be the words of the president of the Humboldt Broncos. That's Kevin Geringer. He spoke, and when he started to list the names of the 15 players and personnel who were killed in that crash, he could barely get through it. Immediately, he was breaking down as he went through that terrible list, listing the names of each person who died. It's such a sad moment, one of the saddest, I think, of this entire vigil last night. It was very emotional, and you can imagine for him as a president of the team, knowing these players in and out and the staff that he worked with, it was quite emotional and quite heartbreaking to listen to. But the entire vigil was very powerful, especially with the thousands who descended upon that tiny city of Humboldt to lend their support and to console each other.
Tammie, let's talk about the GoFundMe page. It's raising an incredible amount of money. It's now Canada's largest GoFundMe ever. Just F5 refreshed, it's at $4.8 million and growing, all money raised by just over 70,000 people. What do we know about how this money is going to be used?
Well, we know that the person who started this GoFundMe account is a mother of a son who actually played for the Broncos Bantam team. She has been, apparently, according to this page, in contact with the vice president of the Humboldt Broncos and is now in correspondence to try to work out how exactly this money is going to be moved. But it does state that this money, all of it, is going directly to the players and to the families who have been affected by this tragedy. So we'll see how that unfolds. We know that about, as you said, about 70,000 people from 60 different countries donating to this GoFundMe. It's at $4.8 million, as you mentioned. This morning when we started out here, just about 3 hours ago, that was at $4.6 million, so well over $200,000 raised, and it's expected to continue throughout the day.
This is a story that's touched the world, Tammie, and as we look ahead, we heard you mention earlier in your chat with Greg Harper that a media update is expected. What do we expect to find out about this tragedy later today? And from your entire experience covering this story, how does Humboldt heal from this?
It's difficult. It will be years, days, weeks that they're going to be having to go through how just tough it is to handle this tragedy of having half of the team and their closest friends, family, and loved ones killed in this crash. In terms of the update later today, it may be just a logistical update as well. We're unsure whether or not the RCMP will be providing more of an update when it comes to the investigation. That is still ongoing, and we don't know at this point what happened to cause this crash. We know that it happened during daylight hours. It's about 5 o'clock in the afternoon on Friday when that semi T-boned the team bus. The driver of the semi did survive, only minor injuries, was taken into custody and released, but we don't know what information he was able to provide to police in terms of what happened to cause this crash. So we'll have to wait and see what that update will entail. We're also expecting some more information from the coroner's office as well to figure out exactly how this mistaken identity happened.
Well, Tammie, we appreciate everything you've done covering this story for us this morning, last night, over the weekend for City News. That's Tammie Sutherland in Saskatoon this morning. More to come throughout the morning here on the show.